Donald Trump and the MAGA base continue to try to redefine the qualifications to be an American. And these kind of things slip under the radar with everything else going on at the high level. The president seems to be making more extreme news every day, but I think it's really important for us to continue to focus and hold him accountable to this. Let me just start at the baseline. A new Washington Post article out today says U.S. citizenship reviews will sharpen focus on moral character, memo says. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services call for a more holistic review of applicants, which includes a more subjective standard for good moral character. Now, let me be very clear. If you do not have good moral character, you are a violent criminal. You should not come to the United States. You should not become an American citizen. Full stop. But my argument is that this is not what this is about. Okay? So let me read. On Friday, USCIS called for a more rigorous, holistic, and comprehensive approach to evaluating those applying for naturalization, stating that, quote, good moral character, and this is where I'm concerned, is defined by an individual's, quote, behavior, adherence to societal norms, and positive contributions. USCIS officers have been instructed to judge on a case-by-case basis. A Brigham Young University professor said the move could, quote, make it harder for non-citizens to obtain legal belonging in the United States, she said, since USCIS officers must evaluate something they cannot consistently describe or define. Again, this is part of a larger push by Donald Trump and MAGA to redefine the qualifications of what societal norms are. And I want to just take you back to some of the things that the base and Trump himself and other elected officials have said that should cause concern. And I also want to just lift up how many people have seen the statements that I'm about to read, because it just shows the influence that the MAGA right have. So I want to focus on Zohran Mamdani, a Muslim American who is the Democratic nominee for New York mayor, who will most likely win. When he was first secured the first round of the primary, Matt Walsh, a very prominent MAGA influencer, said 40% of New York City's population is foreign-born, not just second and third generation immigrants, foreign-born. Almost half the city wasn't born in this country. NYC isn't an American city anymore by any reasonable definition of the term. It's a tragedy and a disgrace. That has 4.1 million people saw that tweet as of today. Again, he is implying that if you are foreign-born and become an American citizen, you are still not an American. That is not, and New York, therefore, is not an American city anymore. That is a very specific view of America, in my mind, a xenophobic view of America. We also saw Charlie Kirk, another very prominent MAGA influencer, again, after Mamdani secured the primary. 24 years ago, a group of Muslims killed 2,753 people on 9/11. Now a Muslim socialist is on pace to run New York City. Okay, so there are 2 billion Muslims in the world. Yes, Zohran Mamdani is a Muslim. That is about as close of affiliation that he has with the people who conducted the atrocities on 9/11. But again, Charlie Kirk is implying that somehow he had something to do with this. 48 million people saw that tweet. That is the kind of hate and xenophobia that MAGA is pushing out, some of these MAGA influencers. Joey Manorino, a MAGA influencer with over 600,000 followers, tweeted a photo of Zohran Mamdani with a group of people of color. And he says, this is a photograph of a man running for office in New York City. No one in this photo is American. Not one. Our country has been invaded and destroyed. Again, it is a lie, just straight up a lie. Zohran Mamdani is an American citizen, so for him to say no one in this photo is American, not one, is just a lie. I don't know about the other people in the photo, but this notion that somehow people who are Muslim, people who are American citizens but not born in the United States are not Americans is something that is being perpetuated by MAGA. But we're not just seeing that from influencers. We've seen that from members of Congress. Congressman Brendan Gill of Texas, in response to a video of Zohran Mamdani eating rice with his hands, right? Civilized people in America don't eat like this. If you refuse to adopt Western customs, go back to the third world. So many people of color in this country have heard statements like that. People with ancestors from all different parts of this country have heard, go back to where you came from. This is the continuation of that narrative. Now, I've talked about influencers, I've talked about members of Congress, but also Donald Trump has shown that he has a certain view of what Americans are. Let's play that clip.
But if you look at the jobs report last week, it did show a 1.7 million drop-off of foreign-born workers from March to July.
And that's a great number, by the way. That's a great number. Because it means we're putting Americans to work.
Again, foreign-born workers. I used to oversee the Bureau of Labor Statistics when I worked at the Department of Labor. Includes people who were born outside of the United States and became American citizens. But Donald Trump does not even acknowledge that, right? He said that's good news because it means Americans are being put to work. Americans are losing their jobs as part of that 1.7 million, President Trump. But you seem to think that people who are not born in this country can somehow never be Americans, which is against the very spirit of what we stand for as a nation. So now here we are with USCIS trying to change the criteria in which citizenship is being granted. We should all be concerned about, in particular, what adherence to societal norms means. This is a president who has not followed due process, who's arrested people on campus for op-eds that they have written, speech only. And the ante just keeps being increased. This is a president who's deported U.S. citizens, one of which had cancer at the time. And so now this, again, which is not making front page news, is yet another example of this president's mentality. Donald Trump is trying to redefine not only how Americans should view who an American is, but the qualifications it takes to become an American. And in his mind, this adherence to societal norms is a path for him to change the way that is defined. We cannot become a country that stiff arms immigrants, especially in this case. We're talking about legal immigration, not undocumented immigrants, legal immigration. And this new policy could be taking away people's ability to become U.S. citizens legally based on nebulous qualifications and standards set by Donald Trump. What kind of country do we want to live in? A country that welcomes immigrants who want to come legally, who want to work hard, or a country in which the definition of what it is to be American is defined by President Trump? I know which country I want to live in, and I think I know which one you do too. Let's keep an eye on this. We hope you enjoyed this episode of The People's Cabinet. If you did, please like, subscribe, ring that bell, and put in the comments below who else you'd like to see sworn in. And stay tuned for new episodes every Tuesday. Let's go.